This is part of my series on CA technologies and digital transformation. And in this short video, we're looking at the topic of APIs and how API management platforms can help in digital initiatives. So we begin with a graph that kind of shows a historical evolution of IT architecture over the last few decades. In terms of software delivery methodologies, we've certainly seen a migration from the old school waterfall approaches. Waterfall still has its place in certain circumstances, but for the application economy and systems of innovation, we've certainly left that long behind with the adoption of agile practices and the current state of DevOps and continuous delivery. And we've also certainly seen a departure from the quaint old notion that software used to be wedded to hardware. With the introduction of virtualization software, we introduced a layer of abstraction between software and hardware. And the latest incarnation of that theme is the use of containers, which further introduces more layers of abstraction between software and underlying hardware. Now, the point of this graph is that the lowest common denominator here, the underlying capability, is of course APIs. APIs make these new emerging capabilities possible. And if you look at any graph from any analyst or research agency, they all predict that the use of APIs is set to increase over the coming years. Now, in digital transformation, why should APIs be of interest? Well, if you look at some of the challenges of digital transformation, such as omni-channel delivery, this is about providing a single customer view across disparate delivery channels, mobile, web, bricks and mortar. If you think about security, as you create new customer-facing digital offerings, you effectively increase the surface area for attacks. So you've got to ensure that digital transformation is not creating undue risk. You've also got to consider application development. Digital transformation ultimately depends on releasing new software. Who's going to build that software? Is there some way we can expedite the process of building that software? And as we build this software, how do we monetize it? How do we track consumption of the value that we are exposing? So these are some of the areas where the use of APIs are a very good fit for addressing these concerns. So in terms of omni-channel, the ability to expose APIs from different channels, from different systems, and orchestrate them in new composite offerings, this gives a very nice method of creating omni-channel customer-facing offerings. APIs give us a controlled gateway as well, something that we can potentially secure. So with an API management platform that looks after the likes of access control, single sign-on, encryption, etc., they allow us to expose business functionality, but in a very controlled and secure manner, therefore addressing the security concerns that we should really have at the front of mind. And in terms of development, APIs serve as building blocks to build new composite systems. So they make the process of building these new market or customer-facing systems much faster. And with an API management platform, which even expedites the process of creating the APIs in the first place, this gives us a real advantage in terms of getting to market faster. And finally, unlocking the value of data. If we have APIs that expose business value and we have the ability to track consumption of that business value, then we've got a mechanism in place to allow us to monetize the value we expose through APIs. So in terms of building blocks of digital transformation and the areas of capability that the CA API management platform provides, I mean, if we think of integration, so connecting things, I mean, streamlining access to systems such as ERP, CRM, or databases. Our APIM platform takes care of protocol adaptation, mediation, and transformation. So some of our customers use this to bridge disparate platforms across global business units. In terms of security, you've got to provide protection and threat detection for OWASP vulnerabilities like SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and DDoS attacks. We've got to be able to control, like use identity management and single sign-on to control access to your ecosystem. And we have to think about end-to-end security, protecting the entire software chain from application to API to connected devices across the Internet of Things. Acceleration, we also need to think about the creation of our API infrastructure. So we should make it as easy as possible for developers to have access to existing APIs and their documentation, such that they can discover and make use of those APIs in their new composite offerings. And we can do this through a developer portal. And we can commoditize some of the API work as well, such as the security aspects of access control and transport layer encryption. And by doing this, we free up the developers to focus on the business logic rather than that which can be commoditized. And we also put in place an enterprise standard for something as important as security. Now, when it comes to unlocking the value, given that you are exposing value through your APIs, you probably need some means of monetization. So you may want to offer services through a combination of free or freemium or subscription or consumption. So some combination of these models. Whichever you adopt, you'll begin with the ability to track consumption of your APIs. Who is consuming them and how much are they consuming? APIs also offer the capability to provide instrumentation and analytics to monitor the status and the health of your ecosystems. So think about APIs as a means of securely connecting to smart sensors in the field. And that kind of capability can lead to savings by reducing outages and ensuring that performance and availability is protected.